If you could tell us where you are on the budget process, what is left to be done, and what you think in the end, what will emerge and what impact will it have on property taxes? What's your feeling on where you'll end up and what you still need to do to get there?
We have several items yet to go. We have some emergency services budget to go over. We have the courthouse security to go over, the CIP for next year. I think once we get there, we're going to cut taxes. That's our full intent. It's going to be tough, but we got to do it. We're trying to do it without cutting positions. We'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. That'll be the telltale.
How much will need to be pared from the budget in order to realize that goal of a tax cut?
We're looking, I think the last figure was around 600,000 to 700,000. That amount of money, we can do some things to cut that. Those are always things that happen in the end. There's always the discussion of moving a deputy to rural basic, which pulls down general basic, which is the one we have a problem in.
Is there any one or two portions of the budget that will, I guess, be the heaviest lifting, that will be the most difficult, that might be the most contentious?
Well, I think yesterday was our most contentious one.
Okay.
We were at about $250,000 in nonprofits. That's a lot of money. Most counties do very little nonprofit. Once you start that, it's hard to end because you're talking about people. It was a tough day.
More tough days ahead?
I think the next week or two are going to be tough, but we'll get there.
For people who don't know what the time frame is and the timeline is for the budget process, when do you need to be done? There's a certification that occurs at some point. Just walk us through that timeline. What's left?
We need to publish the budget by the 18th, I believe it is. So we really got one more of February.
February.
So we've got one more shot at balancing the budget. After that, we can cut, but we can't increase.
All right. On the, you mentioned briefly the courthouse security issue. What's the status on that? Why did you advocate for reopening that issue? What's the gain in reopening that and doing something different?
I think it should be under the sheriff. I thought that from the very beginning. I was assigned to courthouse security for 8 years, and I gave it up. Then we had a plan. After 8 years, I couldn't get one, but then there was a plan, and we've got to have it, given what's going on in society. It's critical that we be able to do that. We should be doing it in all buildings. We're trying to make preparations for other buildings in other ways. I think it should be under the sheriff because of the network. We have a separate group of people that are courthouse security that are not connected to the sheriff. I think that's wrong. I think we need to have the sheriff in charge of all security. It's what they do. And I think we can do that without much of an increase, if any.
So that was going to be my follow-up, was by doing it under the sheriff's department, would that result in an increase in cost, a decrease in cost, would the cost be about the same?
He had two plans. One was under what the current system would have been put in the budget for. And the other one was maybe 10 grand over. And I think discussions have taken place where he's going to do some shifting there and take out something, and it'll be at or below what the current one is.
At or below. And you feel like the courthouse will be more safe if the sheriff's department is handling security than it is if it isn't handling
Given
security.
what's going on, we have zero notice of what's going to happen. If somebody is going to misbehave in a really bad way, it's seconds. We don't have time to dial on the phone and say, hey boys, come on over, we got an issue. It has to be dealt with immediately, swiftly, and with all the force that you can, so it doesn't spread beyond one incident. There have been a few in the news that are pretty scary. We've had a couple situations in the 10 years I've been there that nothing really happened, but it was a little frightening at times. You just don't know. We have people that come into the courthouse under a lot of stress, divorces, taking kids out of the family, those kinds of things. They have to be angry, and you just hope that they can control themselves. It's critical that we be able to address that if it happens.
And so deputies would be able to do what in those situations the current courthouse security people cannot?
Well, they will be reserve officers. They will have everything but the training that you have to take at the academy down in Des Moines. They can carry guns. They will have communication systems with all law enforcement. They will be dressed as deputies, and I think there's a factor there. And it will, I think, present a better presence for the public.
Where does this stand in terms of making that change? Where are we in the process and what still needs to happen?
Well, we have an issue. We have two unions that are trying to get the current group in their union, so there's a PERB decision yet to come. I'm inclined to wait to
Public Employee.
I don't know what that stands for, but that's where you appeal an
Okay.
issue with the union. We really need to wait until that decision comes on which union PERB thinks they ought to be in. I don't think it makes any difference to us which one it's in, and then we can move forward.
When might that happen?
Well, it's probably a month and a half old. Should be coming.
Are the reserve officers covered now?
Yeah.
In the union wise?
I don't know.
So when would you anticipate, or when do you hope this transition could occur? Sometime yet this fiscal year or the next fiscal
My
year?
hope is that we could do it sooner than later, but at least by July 1
Okay.
in the next fiscal year.
Last question I have is, you've talked about and advocated for holding meetings in alternate locations in the rural parts of the county. When might those begin? How will you decide where to hold them, and how often will you hold them? And why do you believe that's a necessary or a good idea? What do you hope to gain from doing that?
I'm looking for connection with the rural folks. We have an offer already on the table from Mobile. I think that's probably a good site to start. They have an excellent facility, their community center. The mayor offered, so I think that might be where we try it out. We were in the basement for the first time yesterday. We had about 100 people there. The audio and video equipment worked just fine, so it will be on YouTube probably yesterday, late afternoon, maybe this morning, and we have a lot of viewers out there on the YouTube.
Will it go viral?
You never know. Might get an award. Might have Bruce write it up for us.
He can review. So when do you want to get these started? And what do you hope to get through these meetings out in the rural parts of the county?
We need a few more trial runs in the basement with the equipment. was obvious when I sat down for the first time at the table. There was a podium right in front of me, and I couldn't see over it. We got to figure out how to make that work. There are some issues with the cameras being in the right spot. There are some issues with the television. We borrowed from the city assessor, and it's on a stand, and it doesn't go up. I thought it did, but it's about that high if you're sitting in front of it, behind you, so not everyone can see it. We got to figure out how to deal with that. Once we kind of get that all working, I'd say in another month we would give it a shot. We got to get through budget, and then all that equipment goes out, so we can get it on YouTube, the audio and the video.
And the goal again of holding them outside the courthouse would be
To interact with city councils. What can we do for you? What can you do for us? What can we do together? There are things we're not getting done for you. They see us and hear us, but we never show up. You know, I go out a lot, but the board, I don't think has ever gone out as a board. I kind of wanted to go to Danbury first because there are times I think they want to secede to Winona County. They're so far away from the courthouse. We just need to interact with them and let them know that we're listening.
So this would be a first to your knowledge.
Well, I'm sure they probably did in the past, in the last 100 years, but yeah, I'm not aware of it ever happening before.
I'm not either. All right, thank you.